Hello, good morning. This is the first GMB of the season. We are back. The Bengals are back. The NFL is back. Everything's back, baby. And so is Pete Dazwell and Jamie Rowe. Good morning, gentlemen. We're here to dissect the first preseason game. The Bengals beating the current world champions, 19-14, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, gentlemen, obviously makes us now the de facto world champions, correct?
That's true, boxing rules.
And not least because it was a victory for the Bengals, but I think there were plenty of positives last night, wasn't there, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely there was. I mean, we know the preseason games are to knock a little bit of rust off right at the beginning, but then also for players in the middle and back of the roster to earn places. But generally, you want to come out thinking there are more positives than negatives, and I did. The standout being Joseph Osai. I mean, he first drive against the number ones against Tristan Wirfs, he blows past him, and Tom Brady's not a bad quarterback to be your first NFL sack, is it?
Jamie, would you echo that? Lots of positives from last night?
Yeah, there's certainly some positives. Obviously, this is an exercise in judging talent. It's an exercise in working out who's going to be near the roster and who's not. There were some very good individual performances. There were some not so good individual performances, but those were mainly from players that I don't think are going to be anywhere near the roster. So that's helpful, with the exception of one. So yeah, a lot of people putting good cases forward, and only a few kind of ruining the copybook.
I bought one of those halogen social media lights, and it reflects my glasses. So I'm just lining it up on my eyeballs now to give you a freaky deaky show. But what was that one, Jamie? I'm going to just keep talking to you because I know that you've had a really heavy day yesterday. So I'm just going to test you with questions.
Okay, so I think Mike Thomas didn't have a particularly great day. Sorry, I mean we are starting on negative here, but he had a bad fumble. He got jumped for an interception, which eventually turned out to be another fumble. And I think that, coupled with some of the stuff that went on with him towards the end of last year, that might that might push him towards the edge of the roster and might push him towards being cut.
Conversely, Pete. Conversely, Trenton Irwin managed to hold on to a fantastic catch when he got belted, didn't he? So, and if you read the reports, he just keeps making plays. He's another Jake Kumaro, isn't he? Basically, let's face it, he's got the hair as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hear what you're saying about Mike Thomas. Soon afterwards, he did catch a good one and run down the sideline, and but he's battling for wide receiver 5, and I think Irwin is perhaps his closest competitor. It wasn't the best showing by Thomas for sure.
And of course, conversely again, Jamar Chase caught his first pass as a Bengal.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd catching passes. T. Higgins. Everyone was kind of involved early doors just to get their hands on the ball, which was a good thing, I think.
Can I say that? Jamar Chase is one of my favorite things in football, where they the play was done perfectly, but when you get two big offensive linemen, in this case, I think it was Quinton Speck and Williams, both downfield, both blocking. Their eyes light up when they see a little defensive back that they can block, and it worked perfectly. It was a little trick gadget play, if you like, for want of a better phrase, and worked perfectly. So yeah, it was good to see chasing the open field.
Jamie, you were wanting to say something there.
Yeah, I was just going to go in and say that it was a perfect play. It was perfectly drawn up, and it's great to see the big guys moving on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, they shared the load around yesterday, which is exactly what you want to see in preseason, especially after the training camp we're led to believe a lot of the receivers have had. But I thought they came out yesterday against the more or less first team Bucks offense with Brady and all, and Osai was all over it. He sacked Brady. And they did a pretty good job, I think, in coverage. The linebackers and Von Bell was up at the line making plays on the running backs. Yeah, they just looked a lot tighter, and they were up for it, and they seemed pretty good. And but yeah, that's not the first time we're going to mention Joseph Osai in this Good Morning Bengals broadcast, because he really did stand out, didn't he? He looked. Everything that we were told about him, the motor, the relentlessness, he was like the coverage and everything, when it was, and obviously the pass rush, it was brilliant. And I think there was a stat that PFF tweeted out: 22 pass rush snaps, 5 total pressures, first among all rookies in week 1.
I mean, he was out there until midway through the third, until his injury. So he was out far longer than I thought. What I also liked about him was he was all over the line. So in the past, Carlos Dunlap would have played on the left side, always attacking the right tackle, and as a result, Lawson had to play on the right side of the line. Osai would play both. He was moving from one to the other. He also was very good at stunts, moving inside, and got pressures that way as well. And he was very good, very, very good. And I'm sure we'll get on to him subsequently. I thought Cam Sample also did well alongside him. Sometimes inside, but on the other side, I think he flashed. And of course, he got the last sack of the day as well.
And we should also talk about Darius Hodge, or Darius.
Oh, yeah. Darius Hodge had a very, very good night.
Yeah, I mean, undrafted free agent, looks really good. Hearing lots of good noises from training camp again. This is a guy that you need to watch out for. He's making a real push. And there's always 1 or 2 undrafted free agents, aren't there, that kind of make real pushes, and they become people that you focus in on because it's an underdog story. It's undrafted free agent. Can he make the roster? And I think Darius could be the man to put your money on this year, don't you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very deep position that he's trying to go in at, unless he decides to go in as a linebacker. So he might have to shift a few out of his way unless we are sort of going to carry the 11 defensive linemen. But he was very good last night. Yeah,
watch out for Darius Hodge throughout pre-season. I think trying to make a claim, and of course his claim gets not easier but more probable with the fact that unfortunately White Hubert has gone down. So, yeah. But you're right. There's Cam Sample, there's Khalid Kareem, there's Sam Hubbard, there's all these guys on the line.
Hendrickson.
That it's quite a deep group in terms of depth, I guess. So he's got his work cut out, but certainly what a start for him. And Pete, anyone else on the while we're talking defense? Anyone else? I mean, I saw Renell Wren out there, which is great to see. Tyler Shelvin was out there. Anybody else on the defense that we mentioned coverage early on? Anyone else in the defense that took your eye at all?
Well, I was quietly impressed with the linebackers, the back of the roster linebackers, especially in coverage. There were a few times early on when things didn't go to plan. Kayvon Frazier missed a tight end in coverage, but after that he was all over the place. Had an interception, obviously. I think it was more down to Jalen Davis, but he was there, right place, right time to pick up on it. And especially at the end there, where the Bucks were chasing the game a little bit and trying to get the ball and down the field, passing it a lot, the linebackers were really good in coverage, which is not something we normally hear. I thought the linebackers generally were very good in the run game, as was that D line generally. A couple of times, running back managed to slip through a massive D-line men, but generally we stop the run very, very well. So I think that there are plenty of positives for the defense for sure.
I thought Jalen Davis played well, actually. You talk about the linebackers, but I thought the coverage was good. Generally speaking, Darius Phillips was there a lot, playing a lot last night. Jalen Davis, I thought, played pretty well. You know, he came in last year, didn't he? It didn't do an awful lot, but I mean, the benefits of a pre-season, I guess, and he looked someone to watch as well. Jalen Davis, I thought he played pretty well.
The back of the roster D-backs, that's going to be real competition. I mean, obviously you've got your Awuzie and your Waynes and Hilton and Darius Phillips, who I also thought played well when he was out there. But then after that, you're talking about Jalen Davis, are you talking about Rose? They all put their hand up at some point last night, and they've got 2 more games to try and make the roster sort of 5th, 6th, 7th man off the bench.
Should we move to the offense then? Because no, let's move to special teams, because I know it's probably a very happy moment for you, Jamie, last night when Evan McPherson nailed his first ever NFL field goal. Now they did rotate in Austin Seibert in there as well, but are you expecting Evan McPherson to win that job?
Well, yeah, I am expecting McPherson to win that job. Evidently, we've used quite a high draft pick on him. He came as advertised. He's got a massive leg. He was sticking them right down the middle of the goal, sticking them right to the top of the net and maybe even over the net. He's our guy. He's going to be brilliant. But I'm going to be fair to Austin Seibert. Austin Seibert did nothing wrong last night, and he has apparently been very good in training camp. I don't think he'll get the job. I don't think really there is any chance of him getting the job, but that's going to look good on tape for him, and it's going to look good in terms of him getting a practice squad place with us for next year and maybe impressing scouts around the league. I think Ben Baby said that there aren't 31 kickers better than Austin Seibert in this league, and so he may well end up on a roster.
Well, you look at New Orleans at the moment; they're going through a kicking competition, and dear old Randy Bullock has turned up in Detroit, and he's in a kicking competition. So, yeah, you're right. These preseason games are not just for cementing places on rosters, but also putting film out there. So if you are cut, you can kind of say, look, you know, I've done really not that much wrong here. I am. And Seibert's already got NFL experience as well. So and they've talked him to end up on a roster somewhere if he doesn't win that competition.
They've talked about it as well. The two of them, McPherson and Seibert, they've talked about the friendly competition and pushing each other. Because they've said whether it be here or somewhere else, they know that only one of them is going to be there. The chances are the other one, or McPherson, might make the practice squad. I think James, he's got the job, but I suspect Seibert won't. I suspect that he wouldn't be able to. I think he'll soon get picked up because he can kick. And Jamie's right. We did use a high draft pick, but the fascinating thing is Seibert was the same. He was a 5th. Brown spent a 5th rounder on him, so we've got 2 5th round kickers. That's great. That's really
absolutely. Alex McQueen says, "Morning, fellas. Morning to you, Alex. Don't know if it's been mentioned yet, but I was impressed with Hodge last night. Same with Trent and Irwin. So it's not just us that Darius Hodge caught our eyes. It was Alex as well. Good morning to you, Alex.
I like what Shermer had going on with Trent and Irwin to the extent that we're now going to portmanteau them and call them Shermwin.
Yeah. Isn't it funny though? Not funny. How isn't it interesting? I should say, not funny. Not funny. Haha. More fun. Not even funny. Peculiar, but just interesting. In that kind of in the Venn diagram between funny and peculiar, it's in the middle somewhere. It's like quarterbacks tend to form relationships with certain receivers quicker than others. And Shermer, it was good to see Shermer in action because we'd heard he wasn't that much cop in training camp, but he did okay last night, I thought. Brandon Allen did fine, as you would expect. But isn't it interesting that Shermer seemed to sort of latch on to Trenton Irwin last night quite early? But yeah, no, interesting, sort of, in a way. I don't know,
I mean,
really.
I think that might also be something of an indictment on the other receivers that Sherman was playing with. I don't think Sherman had a particularly great night last night. He had a dreadful interception.
Yeah, he did.
That was overturned by a penalty.
But this was his first experience in a NFL game, so it was okay.
My concern was he seemed to be staring down his target.
Oh yeah,
there are a few times he went through a progression, but he seemed to be staring down his target. And you're right about the INT that was brought back as a result of penalty, but of course he also threw the pick six, and that was a terrible throw. And there were two.
He was just staring at Mason Schreck. I mean, firstly, Mason Schreck is still on the roster.
I know.
He's been here probably for about 10 years now.
I watched some of the other preseason games, or some of the other preseason games, and so many teams were rolling out 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and I was thinking, well, when we come, we're going to have two because we don't carry a lot of quarterbacks. So we were going to be giving them really good game time, and I don't like to overreact after one game, but I'm not so sure. Right now. I'm not sure at all about Sherman as a QB3. Now, if your biggest problem is QB3, that's not a bad problem to have.
And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there were a lot of people on Twitter talking. Maybe we should be trying to bring Ryan Finley back. Maybe we should be going in and trying to get Jake Dolegala back. Both of those are currently free agents. Maybe that's a way forward. Maybe we go for someone completely different. I mean, there is another quarterback on the roster, Eric Dungy, so he didn't get an opportunity last night.
You were calling for him last night, weren't you, Jamie?
Yeah, he didn't get that opportunity, which might not look that good for him, to be honest.
I mean, we joke about QB3, not a bad problem if the problem is QB3, but let's not forget QB3 won us a game last year against that team.
That's against one of the best defenses in the NFL as well. Let's give Finley credit there. But so apart from the quarterback, I want to talk about running back because Jaquez Jacques Patrick did quite well, but I think he's facing a real uphill task to get on the roster. The guy I think it's between Chris Evans and Travion Williams. We didn't see Travion Williams last night too much at all. But Chris Evans, what do you think? I thought he looked quite good.
Well, I feel sorry for Travion Williams. Obviously, you had him on the Cincinnati podcast recently, Paul, and sounds a fantastic fella. And
really nice guy, yeah.
We're all rooting for him. But when it came out before the game that he wasn't going to be playing, I was thinking, that's not good for him. He really needs to put some good tape out there. And if Joseph Asai was the biggest, brightest star from that game, very quickly behind him was Chris Evans. I thought he was dynamic, catching the ball, but also running. I was making notes as I was going along because I was very tired and I thought I'd forget everything. And I had him down as yes. I had him down as he cemented his spot within the first half. I mean, he really had, and again, quite a sniff, quite a bargain in the draft, if you like. Great value where we got him. I think one of us around this table was really big into him before or during the draft. Is that right, Paul?
I don't know who that could be. I mean, I don't want to blow any trumpets, not least my own.
Every single draft had Chris Evans in there.
I know. But no, it's great. And he showed his full range of abilities last night, pass catching and running. For a debut, I thought he looked pretty good. And music fan first agrees, and he says Chris Evans looked amazing.
Chris Evans did really look very, very good.
And
I'm just looking up stats from last night.
He didn't do an awful lot in terms of stats, I don't think.
But I'm surprised.
12 carries for 25 yards, 2.1 yards.
It felt like more than that.
Average. And of course, he scored a touchdown as well. And in receiving, 4 catches for 33 of 4 targets. I mean, that is sort of replicating Geo numbers, really, how Geo was used. So I think if they can get something similar out of their third running back, as they did with Geo, I think they'll be on to a winner. But you would expect Travion Williams to get a hell of a lot more kind of game time next week against Washington. Dastardly Duncan, good morning, Duncan. The stats didn't necessarily reflect it, but Evans looked a player, impressed with his IQ. There you go.
What was also good is, and you just said similar figures to Gio. We used him like Gio. Yes, he was great going out in the flat to take a catch. When he bounced out wide, there were times when the Bucs defense were very good and managed to shut him down. But he was quite happy to stick his nose in between the tackles and blast through the big guys. And of course, that's where the TD came when he was used on short yardage situation, which was fantastic because, as the commentators were saying, you need to be sticking Patrick in there, the bigger running back. But Evans just blasted his way through that line,
and he had good security as well. He was there was none of this reaching out for the goal line. He was looking after the ball. He had it high and tight and kind of basically bear hugging it over the line. It's what you want to see.
We need to speak about, which is ball security. Odds on that in training this week they will have a wet ball session.
I mean, to be fair, it was both teams, wasn't it? They were coughing up the ball last night. It looked kind of quite normal on screen, I must say. But I think obviously there was some tasty weather down there in Florida, wasn't there? And
Levante David. And of course, he was the one who got the strip sack in the first quarter. He said, "Oh, it's preseason. Neither team take care of the ball." Bless you. Almost as if, this is just what happens with preseason. We're not really concentrating too much on keeping hold of the ball, but it was a little bit. I mean, the first 2 entries into the red zone, we gave the ball away. We fumbled a couple or 3 times. There was even a kickoff return from Darius Phillips, which was very good, but he almost fumbled. He was, it was a little bit concerning at times. But it's just preseason.
But then the Buccaneers did it too. Did you remember that interception, that one-handed interception that guy did, and then it just literally popped up. It was like the stuff that you'd find in one of those NFL blooper films from the 80s, and we recovered it. Jimmy the Cat 82 says, "Morning, everyone. Got to be happy overall with that performance. Lots of positives. And Evan can kick a 60-plus field goal this season, easily given the leg that he has." Matthew Cattrall says, "Jamie looks like he's suffering."
I am dead. I am dead this morning.
I have noticed you pouring fluids into your face.
Yes, that's the major thing. I had a quite heavy day yesterday, including 2 hours of my life that I'm never going to get back watching Swansea 0, Sheffield United 0. Good Lord. I want to kind of flip to the Buccaneers for a bit. Because obviously
we haven't even talked about the offensive line yet, but you go ahead. Let's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, they're the champions, and they look terrifying again. They're returning 22 of the starters from last year, which is very good for them. They have added Giovanni Bernard, which adds a new dimension to that offense. He got a catch. He looks in mid-season form. Joe Tryon looked a menace for them last night, so that's obviously good that they've picked him up. It looks rosy for the Bucks. I mean, the Joe Tryon thing is tempered against the fact that he was going up against Gunnar Vogel, who perhaps gave the worst Bengals offensive line performance probably for the last 10 years.
And that is, let's face it, saying something. I think that is really saying something. All right, let's get to the offensive line. Yes, I agree. The Bucks, so many times a team wins a Super Bowl and it's like, well, no, we've got to kind of break the band up because of cap space and all the rest of it. I don't know how these guys have done it, but they've
a lot of one-year deals.
A lot of one-year deals. So they're going for it again, and they should be right in the mix, I think. But I thought our ones, or at least most of our ones, kind of put up a decent show against them. So that was pretty good. You mentioned Gunnar Vogel. Joe Tryon was just basically, but Gunnar Vogel was an ear of wheat in a windy field, and Joe Tryon was just kind of just like brushing past him serenely for most of that game. Isaiah Prince got beaten very badly as well at some point. But these guys are, let's face it, these are kind of, you're not expecting Gunnar Vogel unless the injuries are going to be as horrific as the last 2 years. You're not expecting to see Gunnar Vogel and Isaiah Prince on the field. And you already mentioned that Johnny Williams, went out in space and like bulldozed a few people. What were and I think Jackson Carman got some reps last night as well, didn't he? I don't think he had brilliant time, but
just going back to the Vogel thing, because I was expecting that there would be lots of players that I wouldn't automatically recognize and numbers I wouldn't recognize. I also had on my screen the official Bengals roster in numerical order. Vogel wasn't there. And that was before he got on the pitch.
I don't think he's going to be there at the end of preseason either, to be honest.
Okay, fair play to him. He tried hard, but yeah. I mean, look, Carman looked what he is, which is currently second or third string guard. I mean, he went out with the twos, I think. There were some positives in his play. I think, if I remember rightly, there was I made a note at the time. Our touchdown, he had a really good block, which allowed for our touchdown. There were a couple of other times when he didn't anchor very well. Yeah, he's still got to progress. He really still has to progress. That right guard position is still the biggest question mark.
Xavier Su'a-Filo is starting that right guard position.
Well, he's running out with the thirds.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that at this stage. But
Spain cemented the left guard. I think that's pretty sure.
Yeah.
An interesting suggestion put forward after this one game and one viewing of this game by Joe Goodbury, and I quite like the idea of that, is he's actually put Price in at centre and moved Hopkins to right guard.
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins does have that versatility, doesn't he? Let's face it.
I might do that the other way round and have Hopkins at centre and Price at guard. I think that would probably work, but I think Billy's a little, particularly with Hopkins having a knee injury, Billy's a little more
insurance,
a little more movable. Yeah, he's a little more mobile than Hopkins would be. So that would help if they're trying to pull on runs to the left.
God, it's still a work in progress, though, isn't it? Still chopping and changing, and I don't think they know quite what their best five is yet, and that's worrying.
That the right guard will benefit from having a really good right tackle next to him as well. I mean, Jackson Carman had Vogel next to him, so that's not going to help Jackson Carman at all. But by all accounts, Riley Reef has been the guy in training camp.
He'll be a good player. I mean, he's bound to be better than that Sharashite that we had at right tackle last year and past 2 or 3 years. Let's face it.
I watched some of the Bills game.
Bobby!
Now the Bengals and the Bills have shared a lot over the recent years at least, and they're sharing hatred of Bobby Hart. So
the one of the Draft Network guys, Joe Marino's a Buffalo Bills fan, and I think he tweeted yesterday that you can't run an offensive play with Bobby Hart. He just got, and I just tweeted back saying, "You're welcome." You're welcome. I mean, Giants fans got involved in that debate as well at the time, but yeah, it's we have improved just by replacing him. No matter who we replace him with, we have improved that O line. So,
with the exception of Gunnar Vogel.
With the exception of Gunnar Vogel,
yeah. Duncan Newton, hello, Duncan. Morning, fellas. Ball security wasn't very good in the first half. Speak for yourself, mate. Roland Hogg, Hope Osai injury. Well, I hope the injured wrist isn't too bad for Osai. No, nor do we. We've yet to hear whether what the extent of that injury is.
So that happened on a kickoff coverage. Basically, it was, it's one of those nothing things that happens in football. He comes in for a tackle at the same time as another Bengal and basically just catches his arm on the other Bengal's helmet. And it looks like a sprained wrist to me. But obviously, I'm not a doctor.
Well, whilst you raised it, there's a point I made before we started broadcasting, Paul. On the special teams on kickoff return, I thought were very good. We had good coverage. Kayvon Fraser was very good as a gunner at one point, but there was one kickoff, and one person got down there very quickly, got the returner down very, very quickly, and I was thinking, hang on a second, that's number 58. Joseph Osai was the first one there. A defensive end was the first one there. You're not going to see Carlos Dunlap or Carl Lawson do that, as good as they were at what they did. So that just shows the athleticism of that guy.
I mean, go on, Jamie. Sorry.
I'll tell you who Joseph Osai reminds me of. He's got a lot of Odell Thurman in him.
Let's not hope too much Odell Thurman.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that kind of chaos that he is the bringer
of chaos. I like that. Roland Hogg also said Carmen's night was mixed. He has been a disappointment. He looks like he's not fit enough and not switched on. Petrifying, to be honest, with Joe's knee. And he also says Bobby Hart must have an awesome agent. I think we all agree with that. Joseph Osai is in the run to be our favourite rookie of the year, but obviously we've got Chase to come. We've got hopefully Carmen can kind of get up to speed.
McPherson,
and
Chris
Evans, Cam Sample, Shelvin. Yeah. Actually, the rookie class is quite exciting, I think, in terms of there's lots of things in lots of different positions and even if you get half of those hitting, that would have been a really good draft, I think. So, but hey, this is just like pre-season one. Players are getting getting used to being back in pads and hitting hard and being on the field again. But I thought they did okay last night. And Washington next. Chase Young, Montez Sweat against that offensive line. Where have we said that before? Wouldn't it be interesting if Joe Burrow took some snaps against the team that knacked up his knee last year? Do you think, two-part question. Do you think Joe will play a little bit next week? And if so, actually, no. Well, no, actually, do you think it would be a good idea if he does get some snaps?
Yes. He wanted to play last night, and they were right not to let him. Yes, he should play a drive. He should only ever play behind the first team O-line for what it is. Get him out there, let him hand the ball off a few times. Even if you never have him throw the ball, obviously I would like him to, but let him hand it off. Let him get a little bit of confidence back. Absolutely, he should.
Jamie?
Yeah, same here. Just kind of keep it simple for him. Sort of little screen passes, little sort of slants and running plays, and just make sure that it's as conservative an offense as you can get without kind of deliberately hamstringing him. But yeah, I think Joe needs just a little bit of a taste of real action just to get his head right.
I'm down with that. Dockers has joined in just as we're about to finish, as per usual. Andrew says, oi, lads, just ran through the game in 40 once. Nice to feel a win. Edge rotation, exciting. Same issues as last year, though. OL, linebacker depth, and wide receiver separation. Long way to go, though, but first step. Enjoyed a taste of Gio and Jalen Darden. Everyone enjoys a taste of Gio, don't they?
Jalen Darden looked very nice. Again with the Bucks are the champions, but God, they've added some good players this off season.
Dockers was high on Darden in the draft, so
he looked really dynamic, didn't he? Really, really dynamic. Looks like he's going to be a really good player. Another great player for the Bucks. Jimmy the Cat responds to Andrew. I've no worries about wide receiver separation, to be honest. That wide receiver group is unparalleled talent-wise. I wouldn't quite say unparalleled, but however, I kind of agree with you. But they have been struggling in camp, by all accounts. So. Just because they're talented doesn't mean they're going to be amazing. That's the only thing that I would say. I think they will be fine because T. Higgins was great last year. Tyler Boyd was great last year. Adding Chase is going to be tremendous. But I would just temper it a little bit. I just calm it down a little bit because I think, they've been struggling in camp, haven't they? And I've got no problems with Higgins and Boyd at all, but Chase is going to be interesting. I'm eager to see what he can do, and gave us some really nice, easy plays last night to ease himself into the game.
I'll give you a name that we've missed so far in the stream. I think Thad Moss had an interesting night because there were a couple of blocking assignments that he didn't pick up that well. But he did have the pass in the flat and took that for 20 yards, which is kind of the opposite of what I was expecting. I was expecting him to be more of a blocking tight end. I think he's someone who can make the roster and can do an interesting job. But I think he needs to get more consistent.
I'd like to see him give the offensive coordinator some problems. We are 11 personnel. We don't value tight ends, despite how much we pay. Use Armour. I would like to see us use tight ends more. I've always understood Thad Moss to be a ball catching one rather than a blocking one. I was disappointed he only got the one target, but when he got that target and he put his ears back, he played with some pace, which was good to see. And we know that there is a chemistry there with Burrow. So, I thought he did okay.
I would also temper that there by saying that he's not made an NFL roster yet. He's been undrafted as well. So, yes, he was amazing in college. Yes, he's got terrific, chemistry between him and Burrow. But the fact is, he's not after couple of years, he hasn't made it in the NFL. Now's his chance, though. So let's hope he can become, as Jamie said, an interesting kind of dimension there at tight end.
I think he picked up an injury when he went as a undrafted free agent to the Washington football team.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Right, we've been going for 40 minutes. I think that's about enough for a Sunday morning. Thank you so much for tuning in if you have. And if you're watching this back later on because you're still in bed, it's 10:10 on a Sunday morning. Jamie, I think, is going to go back to bed immediately. I've got to go and walk the dog. Not a euphemism. But thank you very much. We'll be back next week. It's 1 a.m. to kick off next week. So I'm tempted to make this even earlier to torture
Lovely stuff.
Panelists, but we'll see. But it's great to have you back. Great to be back. Great to see the Bengals back. How cool was the new uniform looking?
Yeah. And under the lights, it looked really smart.
Oh yeah. And it looked really good, didn't it? But until next week, Nathan and I will be back with a podcast tomorrow night. But we'll be back next week with another GMB. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and a hoo-day.